Back to All Things Jeff. Why is it so echoey in here? I can't cut butter with that blade. Stop laughing. Hey everybody, welcome back to All Things Jeff. Today is day 3 of the 4-foot by 8-foot expansion. If you remember in the last episode, we put these top platforms on and started working on this mid-level train. I have worked all this out, but before we get to that, check out this shirt my friends Joe and Elisa got me for my birthday. Joe went up to Lebanon, Pennsylvania to see the big boy with me. Well worth the trip. Thanks for driving, Joe. Anyway, today, step 1, we need to add plywood in these areas near the mountains, so the train won't be on trestles all the time. So over here, back in front of the angle platform and underneath of this platform. Step 2, we're gonna have to cut holes where the train's going to go through this plywood. Then I need to add additional legs under here to support the areas that I've cut. Not a big deal, it's really easy. Step 3, we're going to install grass mats on everything, including the piece in the back. And then step 4, hopefully, we'll complete the top track today and figure out how to screw this stuff down. I haven't worked that one out either, but I have a way we used to do it with the old Lionel track. So I think it's time to get busy, so let's get to it. We're gonna start with the big piece under here. That kind of gives me my layout for everything. So let me get this platform off again, which it's not screwed on, so it won't be hard. Okay, to figure out my piece for back here, I'm just going to put a piece of tape, just regular yellow tape, on the piece of track where I want to start my plywood and the piece of track where I'm going to finish my plywood. So this whole piece here will be a sheet of plywood cut to the radius of the track. I'm just going to disconnect this track, take it out to the garage, lay it on a sheet of plywood and trace it. It's the simplest way. The only difference is back here, I have to have a leg to support it over top this track. So I'm going to extend this piece kind of straight back to the wall so I can put a leg back here for support. Again, not a big deal. All right, let's get to that. I'm back out in the garage. I have the piece of track that we just put tape on. This is one side. Here's the piece on the other side. This would be closest to the wall, that you were looking kind of from that direction. I also put a piece of tape right here where I want to come around this corner and start going straight. And I measured 11.5 inches. So I've got that laid out. I knew this was 3.5 inches because I have to get a leg back here to support this piece of wood. It's real simple. Now I'm just going to trace around. I give about a 1/2 inch extra all the way around. Nothing fancy. Cut it off and come back. Right about there. Oops, that goes straight to the wall, like that. And then this whole piece will stay intact. Everything else gets cut off. Real simple jigsaw, nothing fancy. Just do your scroll cut around there, clean it up, and I'll see you back in the basement. I can't cut butter with that blade. And there's our piece. Let's go see if it fits. So I almost forgot, I need to cut legs. Again, I'm moving on to the next step before I finish this one. I need to have legs to support that plywood. They need to be 5 1/8 inch. Along with that 1/2 inch of plywood, that equals the same height as those trestles. So to cut consistent legs, take a piece of scrap on your saw and just clamp it on there at the dimension that you need, which isn't that. And then you can just consistently put your wood in, cut it, pull that piece out, move it over, cut the next one. Now for these, I'm using all my scrap lumber because they're just little short pieces, so use up everything. Back with our wood, tracks on it. I went ahead and cut all my legs. I also drilled all the holes. You saw that. I didn't explain why I drill so many. And the only reason is so that no matter where I put it, I have access to a hole from any direction. So normally I use 2 screws to hold these in place. Normally on the ends, maybe on the front and the side, whatever works. All right. All right, that's pretty good. First shot. That doesn't always happen. I'm going to temporarily fasten all this down, and then I will do the other 2 sections before I make everything permanent. I want to make sure it all fits just how I wanted it to. All right, let's get back there. All right, remember none of this is planned out and I just wing it. But this is how I do it. So I want to have a mountain rolling down. So it'll go from under the tunnel to a trestle to here to on a mountain back to on trestles. So I want to support this. I just cut this to 7 inches wide. I want to support the joint right here. So I'm going to go about halfway with my piece. Same thing on the other end. Where I have a joint directly over this Lionel track, I need to support it. So what I've decided to do is extend this 7-inch piece well beyond, and then I can support it. And then the tunnel entrance will be out here. Still haven't figured out how I'm going to make the tunnel entrance, but it'll work out. All right, so I think we're going to do this. I'm going to cut it about here. I think that will work. And then about here. Maybe like that. Yeah. And that's the back. I'm going to do the same thing down at the other end. I've already cut the piece of plywood. I just figure out how it works. I'm going to go cut it in the garage and then try to install it and see what happens. And I think that's going to work. Yeah. So let's go do the other end. Then I'm going to put it all together and screw it down. Everything is in place now. Nothing is permanently screwed. I want to test run a train. In order to do so, I need to hook up the power. And this is all new track. So I had, not new, but new used. Actually $369. That was a pretty good price for this stuff. I got it at the Toy Exchange in Mount Airy, Maryland. Anyway, on the back, there's these little pre-notched areas where you just put a pair of pliers on there and breaks right out. Very, very simple. Not as easy as the Lionel, but it's what we have. Okay, these are the hookups. Again, you've seen this. They simply slide in, and that's the connection. The wires, again, I like to use, you can use a plug that goes in here, or there's a small hole that a wire can go through. So these little wires go through. Uh-oh, it's not good. All right, here we go again. So these small wires go through these holes. I'm not sure you can see that. I like to bend them over and then tighten this down. All right. I'm going to hook this track up in the corner where it's going to be, and we're going to run a train. Looks like we have power all the way around. There's one piece of track back there that's making a real loud clicking noise, so I'm gonna switch that out. And I'm gonna smell the smoke for about 5 minutes and enjoy that. And then we'll start screwing everything permanently in place. I made another change. This piece of wood right here, I decided to run it all the way back to the wall so I could put something back there kind of elevated, maybe like a hobo camp or something like that. It came out 14 inches. So then my wooden trestle will start right at that 14 or so inches, and I'll create a wooden bridge above it with side rails, something like this. You know, it'll look a little bit different, but it'll be a little bridge there, something different. I'll show you how to build that. So now it's time to screw the track down. Again, we use our number 6 by 3/4 screws. For the plywood, I'm using drywall coarse thread. Mine are Phillips head, doesn't matter. So I am going to temporarily tack the track over here because that wood is kind of where it's going to be. And then I'll do the rest of the track. And when I get back to this end, then I'll make that all perfect. Here we go. I forgot to put the green stuff down back here first. Since I'm doing the green paper anyway, I'm just going to do this whole end. And the reason for that, I don't have a lot of paper. I only have half of a roll of the new stuff and the whole roll of the old stuff. So I'm going to use the new stuff here in the front, and then I'll piece together everything in the back that you don't see with the old stuff. So I just want to use up the big pieces first. So I'm going to start right here. Okay, we are screwed 100% from this box car all the way around to that corner. So that's about half. So I want to make sure it still runs just fine so I didn't mess anything up. This mid-level track is screwed down 100% from right here behind the box car all the way around to that corner. So I want to make sure I haven't messed anything up. So we're going to go ahead and run it around and see what it does. Something went wrong back there, but we got to figure that out. Okay, I think we're good to keep going. So let's keep going. And that finishes up screwing down the mid-level train. I'm going to give it one last test run before I put this top platform back on to make sure everything's good. I did have a problem with the track back there where it just didn't line up right, but I was able to manipulate it with pliers because it's hollow track and not the solid stuff. So let's give it a test run. Okay, I think that's successful. Let's go ahead and put the top platform on. Okay, before I screw it in, I still need to cut these holes over here. So I'm going to mark those real quick. All right. Out to the garage, cut these holes, and I'll be right back. And there we have it, holes are done. Now I just need to add one extra leg here and one in the back, but that one's tricky because of where the plywood for the mid-level train is. I have to put it on top of that plywood up to the bottom of this leg. It's a really tight spot. I'll try to get a picture inside the tunnel to show that. I test ran it one more time while I was underneath. And back here in this corner, that track is really, really close to this piece of wood. So what I did, the cow catcher on the engine swings out and goes just about to it. So I just notched this out. So that will solve that problem. The other problem is I need a leg back here. So the leg will go here and it will sit right on top of this piece of plywood here, out of the way of the train. Again, that's just for additional support. It's not really structural. So I pre-drilled my 2 holes, got my screw started. And hopefully this is the last time I put this platform on this year. One final check with the level to make sure we didn't mess anything up. And we are good. That's it. And that's it. This grass is done. One more to go. That was a little awkward because I was trying to hide the stain. Remember the stain from the 4x8 layout when I took it apart? I was able to get it way back here. I cut off all the big holes except one, and that will probably be under a mountain. So let's do the last one. And that quick, the green grass is done. I put the track in place temporarily. We still have to cut some pieces. I'm going to show you that. If you noticed, back in the back corner, I had to piece the green together. I didn't have enough. So I put the back piece under the piece that's close to us. So when you look at it, your eyes go right over that overlap. If it was reversed, you would probably see the seam, if it's visible once I build the mountain, which it may not be. I just wanted the green to go into the tunnel so your eyes don't see the plywood. All right, before we start this Menards track, they make a connector for power. I did not buy it. I have these old connectors made by K-Line or Lionel or somebody, I don't know. This particular one has two places that you can hook it onto the track. The outer connection is for S-gauge track. I have an American Flyer in the back, that's why I got these. The inner used to fit my 027. This one that I actually clipped on only has one connection. They don't fit easily. Basically, you hook it on, and then this little tab here hooks over the center track. So I put a small screwdriver down there, pried it out a little bit, pushed it on. It is solid. It is not coming off of there. So I'm going to have two of these connections, one on this end, one on that end, maybe one in the back. We'll wait and see how the power works. All the stains, also, if you notice, the stains are gone. I hid those really well. I have one hole that you can see from the original 4x8 layout. For attaching this, I discovered that the same screws I've been using for the Lionel and the MTH track work perfectly. So I'm just going to go through these holes, probably one screw in every piece of track. So I'm going to start putting track together, build a temporary bridge. Let's get to it. Okay, I've come to my first two problems. I need a piece of cut track for here, and the pins are in both ends. So I need to remove the pins from this end and put them in that end. Pretty straightforward. And then just slide them in the other end. And pinch the track a little bit. And this is usually where I get cut. Stop laughing. I forgot how irritating that is. Okay, so this one's done. Next thing I have to do is cut a piece of track, and I'm going to take you out to the garage to do that. I have 3 different ways I want to show you, so let's go do that. All right, we're out in the garage with our piece of track. I've already marked it just with a Sharpie at 2 3/4. So the problem, if I cut this, I've only got 1 tie. So I have to move this center tie down to help support the track and keep them straight. I don't have to, but I'm going to. So there's 2 ways to do this. First, use a small screwdriver, get up underneath of these little pieces that are holding it in place, just loosen them ever so slightly, slide the track and crimp them back down just by pushing down. Make sure that insulator, that green insulator, make sure that stays in place. That keeps the tie insulated from the track. If that disappears, you get a short and a headache. The other way, and this is what I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a hammer, put this down on my table here, and tap on this and slide it down. You can bend this, but you can also unbend it. So that's what I'm going to do first. Okay, I was able to slide that down. Now I'm just going to press down very gently and tighten those up. Okay, it's not the best looking thing in the world, but the green insulator is still in place. I have my mark, and now I'm going to cut it. There's multiple ways to cut this. The most simple is a hacksaw. That's easy. It's just, sometimes you don't get the best cut. A multi-tool with a metal blade works great. My favorite method is just a metal cutting blade on a grinder. So simple. Just make sure you go straight down and not on an angle. So before I cut it, I'm going to clamp this track in place. I'm going to put a block of wood on top of it so I don't crush the track. All right. Don't forget your glasses. And the sparks are going to come back on me, but nothing I can do about that. Here we go. Okay, it did cut all the way through. All right, so this is what I end up with. The inside of the holes gets a little clogged up, but just take a screwdriver, ream it out a little bit, and you're good to go. The other thing, you're going to create burrs on this track. So you just rub your hand along there, If you do, when you do, just take a small file and file the edges of it. Specifically on the inside and the top. The inside of the outer rails and the top. That's where the flange of the train rides. And then just run your hand along there very gently, not fast, you'll cut yourself. And you can feel when the burrs are gone. All right, that's our piece of track ready. Let's go back down to the basement. Whew. And that is it. All my cut pieces are in. I think we're ready to run a train. Here we go. Test run number 1 of the upper level. Let's see what happens. All right, that Menards track does okay, so I may have to stop talking bad about it. That's one power hookup. I'll hook this other one up later. It'll get even better. All right, I'm gonna put all 3 of them on for the first time and see if we can get this to run. And there you have it. Day 3 is done. I'm done. We're a little over 7 hours today. Ran into a few problems, but nothing significant. I'm gonna sit here and enjoy some trains. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next one.